do you intend to set up or acquire more amusement parks in the country? Your vision and thought process on that.
Well, thank you for having me uh, for this endorsement. Amusement industry in India has gone through its own set of challenges. The fact that this industry was non-existent in the country, the rules were never framed uh, for development of these kind of projects, and therefore one had to go through every step of the way to convince the regulators as to how they should govern this kind of industry. We have come a long way, and there is still a long way to go, even after so many years. Having said that, the way we see amusement industry is a social infrastructure rather than pure real estate or any other, because we believe that that in a wholesome entertainment where entire family can enjoy without any embarrassment, and also relive your childhood, is something that this industry offers and has a great potential going forward, even though it has its own challenges. But yes, this industry is something of a necessity for any society, provided one is able to run this in a safe and hygienic manner, and that is very important. No shortcut in this industry would ever be acceptable, and therefore any such attempt of shortcut can be disastrous, and that we have to be very mindful of. Um, so so after SL World, we have been trying to make sure that we make this itself as a destination. Um, um, but but there are other avenues which are adjacent areas, which we are attempting to do something um, like animal welfare or a wildlife welfare. The typical, and that I mean by is safaris and zoos, in a manner that you don't confine an animal, a wild animal, in a cage or in an environment where which is not inherent nature of that wild animal. So that is some project that we are attempting to work on. And therefore we believe that any adjacent, and that also would encourage, we believe, is the conservation and preservation of natural environment. So educating people, animal welfare and forestry would become part of it, and that's one such project that we are attempting to do right now.
Thanks. Moving on from there, your credentials in amusement industry are well known, entertainment industry. Now, it's good to hear about the animal conservation and making it also, from a public perspective, a both learning and enjoying experience. Moving on, an associated line, maybe not a direct line, but an associated line could also be look at some kind of a realty township developments. Is something of that kind in future that your group would ever intend to get into, developing some maybe affordable housing or which is also a social infrastructure? World Bank has now designated affordable housing as a infrastructure industry, and even RBI and Indian government have also done the same thing. So do you think at some stage in future you would also contemplate developing a real estate project?
Well, from my point of view, in my portfolio of businesses, the way I see real estate is not in my priority, and and we continue to do a lot of projects which are for self-use. For example, there are factories that we built, the amusement park related projects that we build, so which is in some sense little different than building a critical mass of so to speak civil construction versus a spread over development, which is not vertical, but it's most horizontal. So therefore, there is a little difference, but of course there are similarities of developing a project. And for self-use, we keep developing, and we will continue to do so.
I bring you to quantum directly and some association with quantum. When the quantum was started 7 years back, we discussed growth plans, and those were on the drawing table that stage. We discussed with you, and you have seen that plan. Also, we discussed our growth plans going forward. Directly, indirectly, you have been some inspiration to us. May not be major inspiration, but some inspiration to us. And we have reached successfully that curve. And that is our perception, but what from your perception you would like to share, any thoughts on our growth that we have achieved, and you would have any further guidance to give us on future growth?
Well, to be honest, when Quantum started the business, and the timing of it, when the world economic cycle was going topsy-turvy, I remember I did mention Mr. Anil Pandit, that is your timing right. I think the concept is excellent, that something is required, would always be required. And somebody like Mr. Pandit, who has had such vast knowledge, right from how to bid and how to prepare for bids and how to succeed, and of course a lot of other activities of managing projects. So that is some service which is absolutely needed, particularly from somebody whose integrity cannot be questioned. And the people who are not so familiar with real estate development, people like us, because that is not our core business. Our core business is running and operating a business, not building for the business. And in such a scenario, the services like Quantum and the knowledge of Mr. Pandit becomes absolutely handy. And therefore, barring for the timing question that I had at that time, I think Quantum has come a long way, and in a successful way. And we wish Quantum all the success going ahead, because we believe that something that are non-negotiable in life, and that is integrity and the knowledge, and that we see in Quantum absolutely as part of the DNA, and so therefore there is only one way for Quantum to go north.
That brings me to my last question. We recently had a privilege of providing some service to one of your future upcoming projects. What's your views, if you have some feedback on the quality of services how do you rate us based on that?
Well, we did use Quantum's service for one of our projects, and since we had no knowledge about how to be ready for putting up a bid, because that has never been our line of business, and this particular project is in joint venture with the state government. So obviously we required somebody's expertise, and this is where quantum came in very handy for us. And it so happened that we turned out to be a successful bidder. So part of the credit, of course, would go to quantum, and therefore I would say that um, um, I would give a 9 out of 10 if one was to give a number, which I normally resist doing that. So we are very thankful to Quantum for helping us out.